Hi, friends. Welcome to the Story Highway, the road where emotions travel farther than words. Today's story is about loss, redemption, and the quiet miracles that happen when we listen to what the heart whispers. So close your eyes, feel the wind, and let this story carry you to a place between memory and hope. There's a small coastal town in Maine called Riversend, a place where the sea meets the sky, and fog rolls in every morning like a soft white blanket. On the outskirts of that town stood an old wooden bridge, known to locals as the Bridge of Whispers. It was said that if you stood on that bridge at dusk and spoke to the wind, someone you'd lost might just whisper back. Some believed it, most didn't. But for Daniel Morris, it was the only thing that kept him alive. He was a carpenter by trade, a quiet man who had once built houses full of laughter. But after his wife Clara died in a car accident 5 years ago, his world became an unfinished piece, splintered, hollow, and cold. He stopped building, stopped talking, and spent most evenings by that bridge with a lantern and a bottle of old whiskey, listening to the water below. Every night, he'd lean over the railing and whisper her name, Clara. And sometimes, when the wind was just right, he thought he heard her voice answer, faint as a sigh. The townspeople pitied him, some avoided him, and a few said the bridge was cursed, that it stole voices instead of returning them. But Daniel didn't care. That bridge was the last place he felt alive. One evening, as the fog thickened and the tide rose high, he saw something he hadn't seen before, a small figure standing at the far end of the bridge. A little girl, maybe 9 or 10, wearing a blue coat and holding a sketchbook. She seemed lost. Daniel approached her carefully and asked if she was okay. She looked up with wide eyes and said, "I'm waiting for my dad. He said he'd meet me here before the waves take the bridge away." Daniel felt a chill. The town had talked for years about demolishing the old bridge. It was unsafe, too fragile. He looked around but saw no one else. The girl smiled and asked, "Do you believe people can hear us from the other side?" Daniel froze. "Maybe," he said softly, "if we whisper loud enough." The girl nodded and sat down, sketching the water. "My mom says she can still hear my dad in the wind," she said. "But I think she just says that, so I don't feel sad." Daniel sat beside her, his lantern flickering. They talked about little things. About how the bridge creaked when you walked too fast. About how the sea smelled like rain. And about how the stars always looked brighter when you had someone to miss. When the clock in the town square struck 9, she closed her sketchbook and said, "Thank you for waiting with me." He smiled and said, "Any time." And just as he blinked, she was gone. No footsteps, no sound, just mist. Daniel looked down at the spot where she had been sitting, and there lay her sketchbook. Inside, on the first page, was a drawing of the bridge, and beside him, in the drawing, was his wife, Clara, standing exactly where he sat. His heart stopped. The handwriting on the bottom of the page read, "Build it again." That night, Daniel didn't sleep. He walked to his old workshop for the first time in years and dusted off his tools. The next morning, the whole town saw him repairing the old bridge plank by plank. At first, people thought he'd lost his mind, but he worked day after day, in rain, in fog, in silence, until the bridge looked new again, strong and beautiful. When he finished, he hung a small lantern at the center beam and carved into the wood, "For Clara and for every whisper that found its way home. That night, as the moon rose, Daniel stood on the bridge with his lantern. He closed his eyes and whispered, "I built it again." And the wind, soft and warm, whispered back, "I know." Tears rolled down his face as he felt a hand, gentle and familiar, touch his shoulder. He didn't need to look. He knew. The sea was calm, the stars glowed, and for the first time in years, he smiled. The next morning, the townsfolk found the bridge empty, except for the lantern still burning at its center, and a single sketchbook left on the railing, open to a new drawing, the bridge, shining in moonlight, with two figures walking across it hand in hand. Since then, people say that on quiet nights, you can hear hammering from the bridge, as if someone's still building, still fixing, still listening. And when the wind passes through, it carries a whisper. Keep building. Because sometimes even the broken find a way to mend. And that was The Bridge of Whispers, a story about love that rebuilds, hope that returns, and the unseen ways we're guided back to what we've lost. Thank you for listening to The Story Highway, where every road leads to the heart. If this story touched you, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And remember, every whisper has a story, and every story has a home.